Welcome to another segment of EB's Real Talk. I'm EB Smith, and I'm here with Mutawaf Shaheed, a poet, a former instrumentalist. It played bass guitar, right?
Bass fiddle.
Bass fiddle, and a poet that's part of the Muntu poets, that are the legendary Muntu poets. I want to get started with here. We're going to start talking about a couple of things here. We're going to go down the rabbit hole, but we're going to be patient. We're going to slow get there. So now, how you doing?
I'm good. I can't complain.
Good. It ain't going to help anyway, right?
No, if I complain, I got a penny a complaint, I'd be a billionaire. So I'm straight.
Yeah, so first of all, let's talk about some events you have coming up on the 17th. Let's get that out of the way right now.
Yeah, I was informed by my publisher, Mr. Kelly McElroy, that on the 17th of November, I have an appointment with a ladies group at the Martin Luther King branch of the public library.
Okay, yeah.
And it's going to be on poetry. She has a group of young ladies who are interested and who write poetry, and I've been invited to come and speak to that group.
Okay, and what are the ladies do poetry too? Is the whole group is a poetry?
Yeah, it's a poetry workshop. Miss Cynthia Davis is the leader of that workshop. She has a group of young ladies, and I think one of the names that they use is Women Sipping Tea. Is one of the names. In fact, I wrote a poem for that workshop.
Okay.
And so hopefully they'll use it as an introduction to their, or put it on the wall or something where they would acknowledge the fact that it was about them.
So but you also have another appointment in upstate New York.
At the State University in Oneida, New York. Dr. Umar, I can never pronounce his last name.
Yeah. But
he invited me to come up to talk about, resistance and Islam, what part it plays in that, and played in that throughout the years.
Okay.
And so I agreed. I told him there were two conditions that would keep me from coming. Because of its location being in upstate New York,
yes,
and February being Black History Month, the weather plays a very important part on if I go anywhere. Okay?
Yes.
Flying, driving, or what have you. Okay? Like that. So
snow
or health. Somebody, get to a certain point in life, and the health issues are not like, well, I'm 50 or 40 or 30, and but anything can happen at any time.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate that, but I'm neither the doer nor the deity.
Right.
I didn't write the book.
So you have 15 poems.
No.
15 books of poetry.
No.
No.
It's a combination of poetry, flash fiction, short stories, and novellas.
Okay. So explain what novellas are.
A novella is something that's longer than a short story and shorter than a novel. It consists of anywhere between 20,000 to 35,000 words.
Okay.
Okay, so I have three novellas, and I have one book of flash fiction and 2 short stories.
Okay.
And the rest of them are books of poetry.
Books of poetry.
Mm-hmm.
So and again, we talked earlier last time we met about the poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're going to talk about some of the content, not just in the poetry, but the content that you think is important. Right now, the thing we talk about more than anything else right now is the disunity amongst African Americans or people of color right now.
Sure.
Let's go down there and let me know what you think about that right now.
Well, that's actually always been a problem. It's just not today. It's just manifested in a different way because you have the technology, so the dissent can spread faster. Okay. So you have people that have always been on the payroll of the enemies to our people, and they're always going to be there. And you can't save everybody, and that's a lot of times when you're trying to save everybody, you're bringing garbage into some content that could be actually better if you left it out. And we have to come to terms with the fact that there's no such thing as a black saint, okay, or white saint. People are people. You have good and evil. And what happens is that with our people, you have, because of the reporting that takes place about this happened to a black person and that happened to a black person, a lot of the stuff that's happening to the black person, they're causing it themselves.
Okay.
Okay, and the disunity is managed, by outside sources. There's no way in the world you can tell me that these gangs are doing all these kinds of things and on. These people are being financed by somebody. When you start looking at, if you ever want to find out who the perpetrator is of an act, find out who is the benefactor. So black people have not been a benefactor of all of the violence, of all of these things that take place in our communities. The benefactor has been the people who have absolutely made up their mind that they're not going to allow you to prosper in this society, going all the way back to the Black Wall Streets, to the Tulsas, to the places at Rose, I think it's called Roseville or something that was in Florida, northern Florida. They are never going to allow you as a group of people to have your own heroes. Because what the first thing they do when they find a hero in your midst is to go to try to discredit them. And then how do they do that? They don't do that just by them saying it. They use other black people. That was one of the modes that they used in the 60s. They had people like Ron Karanga. He was one of the most well-known by all the people in the 60s as being somebody who worked for the people who were trying to undermine the Black Panthers and all the other groups. So this thing about, we're always the victim, we victimize ourselves a whole lot of times.
Do you think we're like that because we were taught that, or that's something we picked up as a way of surviving?
Well, it's a combination of everything. There's no one way, or there's not one thing that causes everything. There are many things that cause everything. And one of the things is that these people get paid because they see they don't have any other way to prosper. So they're for sale. Like most of your politicians, they're for sale. They go to the highest bidder. So it's the same thing if you are doing something and you've established something, then the people, they know it's too overt for them to come in themselves. So to undermine you, they send in other people who look like you to undermine what it's you're doing, but they are the benefactors.
So why does do you think powerful people know that? I mean, it's the intelligent blacks. Do they know that some of are privy to the same information you have?
Yeah, some people, they don't care. Like I said, they're for sale. And they've already determined this is how they're going to move. I'll give you an example. You have black people who are more bigoted toward other black people than white people are. Okay? How they come to those terms, why they're like that, obviously is some kind of mental illness that you would sit up and undermine your own people for your own ego. Okay? So, and a lot of those people are professionals. They're not necessarily some ghetto guy or something like that. You have to give you an example. One of the most despicable people that I've known over a period of time is a guy who's an administrator at one of your community colleges.
Okay.
He's just outright bigoted black person, married to a white person. That doesn't make him a bigot, but he is a bigot, and he just happens to be married to a white woman. And that's fine. If she loves him, he loves her good. But he goes out of his way to discriminate against other blacks. Okay? And he's educated. He's a doctor. He has a doctor's degree. They call him doctor, whatever his name is. But he's the head of a college in a metro area where they should be reaching out to the people in the community to try to get them to uplift themselves to be better. But instead, anybody who differs from this particular, and he's just one of a kind. There are many of them. He is just one that I've had contact with and know personally what his position is in terms of his hatred or dislike for other black people, especially black people who are different than him.
So what do you think is the ultimate goal for people like that?
I don't know what their goal is. It's self-satisfaction. It's self-satisfaction. They have some kind of intermediate goal. They have a belief system that they cling to that makes them be that way. You have to have a philosophy. There has to be a mindset that you have that makes you become a certain kind of way. And why they're like that, who knows? But there've always been black people like that. All the way back to when people came over here. There was a guy, an African, who was recounting slavery from his standpoint and his family's standpoint in Africa. He said that his family made a lot of money in slave trade. He said that his family made a lot of money in slave trade, and that if it was to happen again, he would do the same thing.
With a clear conscience.
Yeah, with a clear conscience. So anybody that's like that, you know that you have good and evil.
Yeah.
Okay? There is nothing else. It's just good and evil. And that has no color. Okay? Good has no color. Evil has no color. They are just what they are. They're acts of evil. They're acts of brutality. Anytime somebody enjoys murdering and raping people, that's not a good person.
So how do we? So we talked about disunity, but how do we then, knowing what you know, how do we solve the overall problem? The disunity is causing us economic, downturns for us. How, with that in mind, with those people in mind, how do we solve that? What is your
one of the ways that I see that you can address the problem, I don't know if
address it. Okay, yes, yeah, address it.
One of the ways you can address the problem is that stop talking about everybody and all. Get people that you can work with who have the same mindset.
Okay.
Whether they're black or white. Okay, because the disunity is caused by people who don't have any understanding versus people who do have an understanding that cause them to do the things that they do. Okay? So get a small group of people that you can work with. Get a project. Work that project out, because there are people that are constantly looking for something out here. Black people or young people are like yourselves. Okay? Like you and Kelly. You got the same mindset. When I met you, I said, oh, you get along good with Kelly.
You did.
Because you had the same mindset.
Yeah.
There are other people find like minds and develop projects and do things together. Don't think success is going to come overnight. Because as soon as somebody becomes aware of your success, here comes the underminers.
So you got to be careful.
You have to be careful. You have to be very selective of the people that you deal with. And just because a person said that, I'm black and I want to do this and I don't do that, you got snakes of every complexion. Find somebody, work with them, know how they think, establish something together with them. It could be a small project and start building from there. Don't, like we go all to a seminar. You got 5,000 people in the seminar. Out of that 5,000 people, how many people you think you're going to actually be able to work with out there? Because people come there, to give you an example, I was with this one guy, and we were going to see another guy. Both of these guys were white, by the way, and Italian. And, both of them, I knew both of them. So we were sitting in the car, and we pulled up to this restaurant. We were getting ready to go in to meet with the other guy. So the one guy that I'm talking to, he said, you know what, Shaheed? He said, now this is amazing. I said, what do you mean? He said, now we're getting ready to go in here and talk with a person, that person. And right now, while we're sitting here in the car and he sees us, he's trying to figure out how he's going to rob us. He said, right now.
How did he know that?
Because he was a crook.
Okay. All right.
The worst person to steal from is a thief.
Okay, yeah.
Don't steal from a thief, because they feel it's lawful for them to steal from everybody else. But when you steal from them, they get outraged. So to your question, there's not a one answer.
Okay, it's just a bunch of solutions.
It's a bunch of solutions, but to start, I think that it's important to get a group of people that have like minds. And it doesn't. What a person can say anything. You got one mouth and two ears, so you should listen twice as much as you talk. So when you get into a group and you start dealing with people, find out, do some investigation. A guy, he shows up and, like he's talking all this stuff. The guy could be a murderer, he could be a crook, he could be a crackhead, he could be anything. And he's looking to take advantage of somebody. But you have to spend time with these people, find out what their ideas are, take time, and develop something from scratch, from the ground floor. So that's a good way to get started.
So have we been taught also then not to take time, not to trust each other, not to be patient, not to hook up with the good people? Do you think that's part of the indoctrination?
Well, pulling yourself up by the bootstrap, okay, the great individualism, that's what is being projected by the society. But it doesn't work like that. All the Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies, they deal with each other. We've been taught to be this great individual, that you can do all of this by yourself. We've been taught that it's slick, that it's good to cut somebody's throat because that's business. Okay? And that may happen to people who have money and they can afford to do that. Somebody can lose $30 billion and still be in business. That ain't you or me. Okay?
No.
So it's yes, It's a learned behavior.
So that learned behavior is actually keeping us in that hole.
Of course.
Right? Right? So when you talk about black empowerment, and I'm saying that in a way, not saying we're separate from society, but black empowerment to be help build our neighborhoods. Is there hope for, like, maybe, let's just take a place like Detroit, Michigan right now, because they don't have a lot of resources and they're coming back. Would it be more logical to expect that the people that can help build that organization or build that city up is not in Detroit? Maybe there need to be some outside thinking black people.
There's people right in Detroit.
So why do you think they haven't?
For the same reason that they can't function anywhere else, because they're not going to be given a voice.
Okay.
Because if they're not talking about the agenda, then they don't get any voice. And you have to remember what the agenda is keeping you down.
Okay. Okay.
Period.
So no matter what.
I don't care nothing about what anybody says. They're lying. The whole agenda is about keeping you down. When you look at all of these black communities that were prosperous.
Give me one for example.
Tulsa,
Oklahoma.
Right.
Right.
Rosewood.
Okay. Let's talk about Rosewood, because I won't have a lot of information.
Okay,
about
Rosewood was a very prosperous African American community in northern Florida. Okay, the same word that went out about Tulsa, and somebody did something to a white woman.
Yep.
Somebody black did
Same
something
story.
to a white woman. Same story.
Okay.
It's all the same story. The Black Wall Street. Okay. These were prosperous African American communities that prospered without dealing with the mainstream. Okay, so what happens is every single time you prosper, these are the communities that we know about, that are advertised, that we have historical data on. Every single time that you try to prosper, accidentally something comes along and destroys that community. So anytime that you have a mindset, anytime there's an African American leader that will emerge, he's looked at as a threat to the society. Why? Because you were never brought here to prosper in the first place. They'll allow some black people to prosper. They'll let some rap guys get out there and make money. They'll let some other porno star black get out and make money. Some movie star go make money. But it's always in a demeaning role. When they get the Academy Award, it's a demeaning role. They're never the hero. Never. It's always something that is demeaning. And then they will have this as the carrot. And then everybody's chasing this carrot that they're never going to get. And that carrot leads them straight to the penitentiary wall.
Do you think that, you talk about the Academy Awards and even in the Oscars and all these other things we talk about, do you think it was a setup that people expected that it would get better later on? Because now it's a big shock like it was in the 60s. Like, we never got one, but it's always been the argument, right?
Well,
do you think it was a setup for us to think that was going to get better and it didn't?
Well, let me say this. It's against human nature for a person to want to stay in the penitentiary or stay locked up. You know what keeps them there? Beside the fences and everything? Hope. Hope that the penitentiary wall is going to open up. Hope that the warden and the governor are going to have some mercy on them. Hope that they'll wake up one day and it's all over. You understand? Hope is projected. You understand? Words like the milk of human kindness, fair play, justice. Those words need to be extracted out of our dictionary because they don't apply.
You said the word hope don't apply to us.
Hope applies if you're not getting it from the place that's been giving you hope all the time, because there is no hope in that. You have to have self-hope. And that means that you have to get away from all of those things that have kept you back. There's unnecessary. Our people have no discipline. That's their problem. Not only our people, we're talking about our people.
We're talking about our people right now.
Okay, see, I don't know. They have no discipline. They don't have any self-discipline.
And when you say that self-discipline,
okay, they can't stop drinking. They can't stop smoking. They
right.
can't stop playing the numbers. They can't stop shooting dice. They can't stop all of the bad smoking cigarettes. They can't stop. You understand? And the thing about it is, they are supporting the things that are killing them.
Okay.
Okay, so if you don't have any discipline, okay, you have to have ice cream. You have to have a turkey. You have to have a hamburger. You don't have to have any of that. All you have to have is a dream and something that you're going to work toward, and you eliminate all of the things that are not necessary.
So we was talking about the Oscars. So would it be fair to say that maybe for now they should just be satisfied that they were able to make money off that movie and do other things with that money rather than wait for an
That's
award.
all you got coming anyway. And then what happens is, because of the fact that you don't manufacture anything, as a people, the money you make is going to go back to the status quo anyway. Reparations, for an example.
Let's talk about reparations.
Okay,
Yeah.
reparations, they're not going to give you any reparations. Not because they don't have the money. And not that they don't know that you don't manufacture anything. And not that they don't know that you're going to go straight to the Cadillac place or the Benz place or some other place, or you're going to go buy diamonds and pearls and necklaces and all the rest. You don't manufacture or own any of that. Okay, so they already know that if they gave you the money, they're going to get it right back. Plus, they'll get more because you'll go into debt, because they'll give you credit to get something even bigger you can't pay for.
So it's a net benefit to give us reparations,
Yeah.
but why won't they?
Because of the fact that there's a statement they're making to say, screw you. We're not giving you nothing. Okay? You weren't bought here to get nothing. We worked you as slaves, and we're not changing any of that. Okay? Period. We're not giving you anything. Period. Yeah, go back to Africa.
So
Okay, now hold on. Let me break that down even further. Okay, it's not the people who are making these statements and who are pushing that agenda. Let's see.
Yeah, pushing that agenda. Yeah.
You don't know them. You never seen them.
Okay. That's
Okay.
What, but that was my next question. Like, when you say they, are you talking about?
I'm talking about the they, those you never see.
Okay.
Okay,
Because you believe they're the ones.
they are the ones.
Okay.
Do you actually think the President of the United States is calling shots? And the Congress and the Supreme Court are calling shots? No. They take orders. Period. Okay? From someplace else. Where that place is, the name of the organization, the name of the people.
That's
I don't
irrelevant,
know.
right?
It
That's
doesn't make
irrelevant,
any difference.
Right? It's irrelevant. Okay.
It doesn't make any difference. The fact is that they're not calling the shots.
And that, so when we talking about, again, to go back to empowerment, so
Racism is a tool.
racism is a tool.
It's a tool that's used to keep you back. You understand? Because the most racist people that you see are the dumbest honkies that you find.
Okay.
You understand? Those are the ones, they are the drones that are used to destroy the Rosewoods. They don't send the army in there destroying.
Right.
They got, you understand, the guy who says you shouldn't have what he has. You should have less than what he has. That's the dumbbell. You understand? They always send them in to do the destruction of your stuff.
So I'm gonna say a few phrases to you, and then you
Right.
respond to them.
Right.
So I'll listen to what you're saying. Black leaders.
Where are they? They're all dead.
Current black leaders.
There aren't any.
So if I mention names to you, it is irrelevant.
You know, I'm just, in what context you mention the name becomes either relevant or not.
Because as far as leadership goes.
Where does the black leadership?
Right, so
Who are they?
Okay, and when you say that, what defines a black leader to you? What if a person says they're a black leader for the black people?
Right.
What are some of those things you would give them, or what some of the things they expected to have?
Well, they wouldn't necessarily have more than the people that they're working for.
But what would they
They would
be
have
able
to
to
be
do?
an example. They'd have to be an example of what they're talking about. Okay, T.J. Jakes is not an example of what the people under him are dealing with. Creflo Dollar, you understand, is about the dollar. The people in his congregations, they make less than $35,000 a year. And he's got jets and all the rest of this kind of stuff. You consider him a leader?
Okay, so now let's define them. So
What
if they're not
a leader
leaders.
is?
No, if it's-
What these people are?
right.
Yeah, they're hustlers. And I ain't mad at them. Take that, you know.
Hustlers. Give me an example.
Financial, they are after money. That's it.
No matter what they say.
I don't care what they say. It's what you do. The mouth can say anything. All you got to do is open it. You
So
understand?
when they hold big conferences and they want all the black people to come there and they talk about young men empowerment, what are they really saying?
They're
in your
saying
opinion?
that you have to pay to come to this conference, and they're going to pass the basket, and you got to give them more money. Okay. Now that money is not being circulated in their congregations to build businesses and to give this poor guy that's making $35,000 a year an opportunity to establish his own business. Okay. No matter what they say, show me the example, because it's about showing me. I don't want to hear what you got to say. You say anything. What? Show me the proof. The proof is missing.
And if they're not doing it,
If they're not doing that, if they're not contributing back to the community from where they're taking these funds from, how are they a leader? They're a bleeder.
so that's the name you would give them.
A bleeder. They're bleeders.
Okay, so another word. Okay. Black intellectuals.
There are a lot of them. Black intellectual, a lot of them. Intellectual. You could be in a particular discipline. Doctors.
What is their purpose?
What is their
in
purpose?
Your opinion? What do you think their purpose
Well,
is?
number one, a lot of them go into business so that they're able to try to help their own people because they have a good idea of the psychological problems that they have. You wouldn't go to a white psychologist or a psychiatrist to talk to them about your problems because they don't really understand your problems. They got a textbook that don't have nothing to do with you. But the black psychologist, the black psychiatrist, they have a better understanding about what you have experienced and can better deal with it. Okay, so I see them as being very positive, but you don't have any money to pay them.
So they're basically useless.
No, they're not useless.
Oh, now they're not useless but are they useless to black empowerment?
They can be. They can be very useful. Because if a person's having a psychological problem because of the fact that he or she is not being able to get the money and is having them a breakdown, this person has to be able to explain to them and calm them down and show them, say, okay, look, that's not everything. There are some other things that you might need to focus on because I'm looking at here, there's a guy with a machine gun standing there, there's a guy with a prison key there, there's another guy in a helicopter with a drone over here, and they're getting ready to kill you if you do such and such a thing, okay? All right, now, Dr. Sebi, you need to stop, okay, because they're going to kill you. So Dr. Sebi may say, I don't care. I got something I'm trying to contribute. I respect him, and I respect the person for trying to give them good advice.
Okay.
Good advice. If you give a person good advice, they don't take it fine. And I see the black psychologists and psychiatrists knowing the landscape of the black mind and the black experience. I see them as being very influential in being able to help these people to keep from having these breakdowns. Plus, what happens is when you knowing your opposition that you're going up against, and you start thinking that there's going to be a word like fair play, pull yourself up by the bootstrap, you understand, milk of human kindness, then you're a mental patient from the beginning. You're crazy in the beginning
for
believing that.
Okay.
So when you go into a venture, what you should have to do, you should go into a venture knowing that you're up against all of these things that are facing you, that the society has geared to destroy you. So it's not geared to help you. You weren't brought here to prosper.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but
let's talk about it.
Let me say one more phrase,
Sure.
and then I'm gonna take it back around here.
Okay.
There was a statistic recently of that black women are the most educated.
Sure.
Today, right now.
Okay.
So now I'm gonna say black women.
Right.
Give me expound on that.
Slave makers.
Say it again.
Slave makers.
Explain that.
Okay. Now, from the time that the man, say if you got a man in the house, which is rare, because they're killing all the black men and locking them up. So they don't have no access to none of that in the first place, okay? So they encourage the women to do that. They give them this fallacy about the strong black woman and all the rest of that. You're not as strong as the white man, okay? So let's stop that. Okay, they always used to say the only thing free in America is the black woman and the white man. Okay, that goes way back. So just look at it. When you go into these institutions, who's the most loyal person at the desk? You understand? To make sure you don't get in, you understand, they protecting the guy's stuff. Ask any black man. Now, that doesn't take anything away from the black women, because I have a great deal of respect for them. A great deal of respect for them. Because you have some of them that do try to help. You understand? But everything they're watched like anything else. If you start opening too many doors for you and you ain't got no interest, man. It's not for you to be in there. Now, if somebody starts opening the door and you start coming in, it's like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute. We didn't hire you for that, man. You proved to us that you was Miss Ann and Uncle Remia. No, you can't let him in.
So it's very limited.
It's limited.
Black millionaires.
Black millionaires. Come on, man. That's the carrot. To get the guy to go to the penitentiary or do something like he wants the nice stuff. He wants He wants the Benz, and there's nothing wrong with any of that, really. I've owned all of them at one time or another when it had any significance to me. And I can go get one right now if I wanted. I don't care nothing about it. It's materialism, it's the world. I'm not thinking about that because I'm not prepared to deal with the downside. Okay? So you get these people who have all these desires and all these wants. So everything is built around somebody else's vision. And that vision is television. Okay? They're constantly advertising, pushing for you to want this and want that. So you're creating false desires in people. Stuff that they don't even need. So they start pursuing a nightmare rather than a dream. Okay, then what happens is in the midst of all that, everything's snatched away, and there's the real thing right there, the bottomless pit. You understand? And who's going to hold it? You understand? Come on, man.
So black colleges, traditional black colleges.
There's nothing wrong with it. They should have them. And the educators there do a good job in educating these black children, especially if they're on top of the game. The reason you got black colleges in the first place is because they were necessary, and they still are necessary, probably even more necessary now than before. But it's what you're teaching there. Because if you're teaching the same ideology, go after this and go after that and go after this, as the white colleges are teaching, what's the difference?
What should they be teaching in black
They
colleges?
should be teaching people to be conscious about their desires. Okay, I don't necessarily have to have this. I can make it with this, and I can help other people along the way. I don't need all of that. There's great individualism. You know, I don't have to collaborate with anybody. I can work by myself. Or I can, you know, this guy, he hate black people, and this guy hate black people, and this guy hate, so I'm going to hook up with them, and we all going to hate black people together. No, the black college's job is to give these people some self-esteem when they come there. You are great, you are good, and everything that you've tried to do has been undermined. And with this education, you should go and do this and do that. The same thing that we're talking about here. How do we bring people together? How do these black people, you know, get together and build something? But I'm telling you, EB, I'm telling you, I don't care what you build. Somebody's going to destroy it. I don't care what you build. You got to have wishes, ambition. You have to spend your time doing something.
So what frame of mind? So no, I want to stay here. I want to stay here for a minute.
Okay.
So when I say black colleges, you said something earlier that marked me.
Right.
When you talk about black colleges,
Right.
and you talk about what they should be teaching,
Right.
which I thought was actually honorable. So, but because they get money from the government,
Right.
how long could they teach that and still get? Because you said
It
earlier,
depends on how much impact what they're teaching has.
let's take a
Funding gonna get cut.
funding gonna get cut.
Right.
So really, they're only gonna teach so much of it in the first place, right?
Right.
So they might as well go to just a normal college because the black colleges are limited what they're gonna be able to teach.
You still should go to the black colleges because the teachers are going to work with you closer than they would in another college because they look like you. They know what you're going through because they had to go through it. That's definitely a need. The black colleges need to be funded by black people. Okay, not only just the government, but black people should be funding those colleges. If you graduated from, you know, Morehouse or Spelman or one of these colleges, Fisk, you should be donating money to these colleges to make sure that they continue to give the quality education that you received to put you in a position where you're able to donate something back. Period. If you start doing too much, if you start getting too much power, is the name of the game. If you start getting too much power, there's a what do you call it? A switch. I call it a Manchurian candidate switch.
Doesn't that say we ought to limit ourselves? We ought to limit ourselves because of what might happen or what traditionally happens.
No, I'm just saying be prepared for it. I'm not
So we ought
saying
to put more time into preparation rather than.
Don't get disappointed. You understand? Because history shows you what's going to happen. And the problem is these people keep on talking about this hope. You know, that things are going to change. You got this coming in. That it's gotten worse. It's almost back to where it was during slavery.
Yeah, so that was the question I was going to ask you. Do you
I mean,
think
so how is all of this hope and all of these colleges and all of this stuff? It hasn't changed the opposition. And I'm just telling you not to stop. I would never stop. I would continue to educate myself. I would continue to try to be successful. I would continue to try. But I'm just saying, don't go to the mental hospital when it doesn't happen.
You think all of it go to the mental hospital?
Yeah, it's a big disappointment for people. That's why they wind up, committing suicide and all these other things, because they started believing in that there was a real liberty and there's real justice and that the Supreme Court going to help them and that the president is going to do these things for them and the money and the SBA and that's not going to happen.
The justice is in you, you're saying,
yeah,
and the power is
God,
in you.
You understand? The creator of the heavens and the earth, whatever you want to call it. You understand? That's the only hope that you should have, but you should not stop striving. Hope and striving is two different things. It's just like, okay, somebody tells you through history. Somebody tells you, say, EB, if you go down 55th Street and you keep on going down there, there's a cliff down at the end of the thing. And then these people told you that was 50 years ago that cliff was there. And you say, well, that was a long time ago. Ain't no cliff there now. And you drive down there and you're smart enough to say, well, man, let me just stop before I look. Cliff's still there. Okay. Then you tell somebody, look, 55th Street down at the end is a cliff down there. And they say, I don't believe that, man. Why don't you believe it? Because somebody told me that it wasn't there. Somebody gave me a vision or a nightmare or an illusion. You understand that wasn't there. It's still there, man, on 55th Street. The cliff is still there. Okay, but that's okay. Devise a way that if when you get there, that if you go back, you're not going to suffer. Okay. Or figure out a way how you can, let's say this thing here has been here a long time. How can I bridge this gap?
You're saying recognize it is there.
Recognize it's there.
So there's one more thing I'm going to give you before we close out this segment. And please don't take this as a disrespect. Because we mentioned black preachers, and we mentioned black colleges, and we mentioned women, and we mentioned black leaders. Black imams.
Same difference. You got some that do it, some that don't. And it's not necessarily about, you got to realize one thing, that nobody came from Mars. So the black people that's in the church, or wherever they may be, in the Buddhist temple or whatever, they the same ones that came out of the projects and came from 45th or wherever they came from. They came from the planet Earth. And they came here from America. So you got people, you understand, in every walk of life. I don't care what they call themselves. They can call themselves the imam, or they can call themselves a priest, a minister, or anything. It's like, are you doing what you're supposed to do? There's a criteria by which you judge. Are you using that criteria, or are you just making it up as you go along? And consequently, if you're helping people, if people are benefiting from whatever it is you're telling them, and you shouldn't be giving them your own opinion, you should be giving them an opinion you understand that you are living by. Okay? Let the people see you behave the way that you say that you're supposed to be. So imams, to me, they're same as preachers or anybody else. Okay? If you're not right, you're not right. It doesn't make no difference what title you hang on yourself. You can hang a title on that door. You understand? They call that door elephant. It's a door, man.
It's been great to sit here with a man with such great wisdom. Again, the statements you make is something for everyone to pay attention to, because even if you don't totally agree with them, there's consequences for not taking heed to certain knowledge and wisdom, and you've been around a long time. And so I thank you for being here with me. You brought up a couple things that were just really good for us to talk about. We're going to bring you back and talk about getting some more subjects. But I think that the black empowerment, before we can start talking about black empowerment, we need to agree with me if we need to actually find out what that is, because maybe black empowerment is more here than here.
Right. It depends on what you call power.
It depends on what you call empowerment. This has been EB's Real Talk. Thank you for joining us. Give us the contact information for some information for you. Again, we can go on the Mutu Poets website.
Yeah, you can do that.
Spell that for me, because sometimes
Muntu.
T-U.
Muntu, it means human being. It's from the Zulu language. It means human being.
And your the pseudonym that you write up under is
C.E. Shy.
C.E. Shy.
Right.
C.E. Shy. Look up C.E. Shy. You're on Amazon.com.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble. This has been EB's Real Talk. Thank you for joining me in the rabbit hole. Hey there, brothers and sisters. This is E.B. Smith. Real Talk is me helping you by giving you information I know you will be inspired to be a greater you. And with a greater you, our communities are better and our world is better. But I want to reach more people. To do that, I need your help. Will you subscribe and share my videos? Tell everyone what we're talking about here on Real Talk. Another way to partner with me, donate $1. That's donating just $1. Go to PayPal and send ebsrealtalk@gmail.com. Go to PayPal, donate $1, send ebsrealtalk@gmail.com. Since we don't like the world we live in, let's change it together. Thank you. Writing a book can be daunting, but once you get past the daunting, there's always the cost of getting it published. And many times that usually holds people up from doing it. Uptown Publishing is offering supporters of EB's Real Talk a wonderful opportunity to have their books published for only $250. That's 75% of the regular standard publishing package price. You supply the book cover art, a synopsis of your book, and your pre-edited manuscript, and here's what you'll get: 100% control of your book, 100% profits from your book, and your own dashboard. That's $250, which is 75% of a regular standard price. 100% of control of your book, 100% of profits. If you're interested in it, go to uptownmediaventures.com. Go to uptownmediaventures.com and go to the Contact Us page and put in EB's Real Talk. Or mention EB's Real Talk via email at uptownliterary@gmail.com. That's uptownliterary@gmail.com. Congratulations to all of you to your future as an author.